Hi there, Chris here with another fresh tip for you all. In this video, we are going to continue our look at painting hair. And so in this video, we are going to work on some blonde hair. And so for this, we have this model from Pathfinder, which I believe is from Reaper Miniatures. And she has been primed in a light gray from Stynal Res using an airbrush. Of course, you can see some of the metal showing through, but that's not a huge issue, as I often recommend, under priming is better than over priming. Zameshi Desert is going to be the first color we use to basically begin our blonde hair. And this color is really fantastic because it has yellow qualities, but it also pushes towards the brown side of things, which, typically kind of natural blonde hair kind of pushes towards anyway. So you can see we're just going to apply a nice even base coat here, just the dampness of the brush, just to thin the color out ever so slightly. And of course, after 2 layers, it is all nice and solid. We're going to use Zameshi Desert again with some Ushabti bone. Basically, we're going to mix this in roughly a 1-to-1 mixer ratio. And basically, we're just going to, begin our highlighting. Now, of course, if you want to push your color gradients a little closer together, you could go with, say, a 3-to-1 or even a 2-to-1, and then begin, this highlighting process. And you can see basically I'm just catching the high points. I often go wherever the big curvatures are on the hair. So like on the in the part in the middle on top of the head, I do just the high points there. And I also collect paint on the ends of the hairs as well. So every little tendril that's coming off from the hair, I do, as well as the braid coming up. And you can see here I'm basically just roughly applying this on. I'm not being too precious about basically, even layers or anything like that. I'm just basically layering this right onto the surface because, again, I want this to be pretty darn bright. And you can see here I'm just quickly layering in some high points, and really that's about it. I'm not going for any kind of particular like zenithal type of highlighting or anything, or edge highlighting or anything like that. This is just kind of the typical way I do hair. Here I'm just catching the edges of the hair just to frame the face a little bit better, and I think that's key once you get into, getting the face done. We're going to add a little bit more Ushabti bone, making this roughly a 1-to-2, 1 Zameshi to 2 Ushabti. And here we're going to be a little bit more deliberate, as we're going to catch just the high points of the hair, and we're going to do just a little bit of edging here and there. But otherwise, this highlight is applied fairly minimally, and we do not want to go as far as what we had previously done on the previous highlight. We just want to go just a little bit less, and that's really the key to really good highlighting and creating color gradients on a model surface, is reducing the amount of space in which you're applying your highlight. Here you can see on the ends of the hair, this big long braid on her hair, I go brighter towards the end. Again, that's more of an aesthetics choice rather than the actual, the light sourcing of the hair. You can see the big part of her ponytail here. I just do just the top curvature and then do the ends of the hair. And of course, the hairs that frame her face, I also apply more highlight there just to be much more deliberate. And of course, again, that is entirely to frame her face a little bit more distinctly, because again, once you get into that face, you will, have deeper colors towards the hairline and everything like that. And so it actually creates a nice bit of separation. And of course, as we lay these highlights down, you can pretty much stop at any point and which you think you are satisfied with the amount of brightness. Here you can see we're just going with some pure Ushabti bone, very minimally, getting just the high points, we're just barely laying this stuff down. And of course, we're going to get just a little bit of the high points, the ends of the hair, and of course, we're going to work on the bottom of the braid. And realistically, again, after this highlight, you could also stop as well, because I even considered stopping at this point because I thought, it looks like a really nice bright blonde. And again, with blonde hair, of course, it does have that hint of brown tones, and Zameshi Desert as a base is really great in this regards. You can see here, I'm just simply catching the braids. I'm trying to catch some of those high points on the braid, each of the little, bumps. And here again, I'm catching just the forward hairs on her face, again, just to help frame that out a little bit better. Like I said, you could stop, or we can go just a little bit further. And here I'm going to use some Seraphim Sepia. I slap a little bit onto my palette, just the dampness of the brush to thin the color out ever so slightly. And I place this fairly deliberately at the center of where her hair is bundled for her ponytail, as well as the part in her hair. And I'm also going to catch some of the undersides and some of the hairs that are underneath other layers. Again, this is all to help create separation and create visual interest, and of course bring that texture back out. And here the braid that's comes up underneath her armpit, we're getting just a little bit more color there. Where the color or where the hair bundles together before the braid, I also push the color a little bit deeper there. On the underside of the hair, we also deepen it up. But again, because I'm working with the color in a thinned out fashion like this, it's just barely tinting the surface. And if we wanted to push it even further, we could apply another layer. I don't, but we could if we wanted to really push that. And I think sepia is a really great way to do deeper shadows on blonde hair without changing the value too drastically. But there you can see it's all finished and done. And of course you can stop and continue going at any point. This is really just to kind of help you guys get your head around doing blonde hair, and also kind of keeping it somewhat like a natural blonde. Huge thank you to all my patrons. Without their support, these videos would not be possible. If you're considering Patreon support, click the link in the description below, and it'll be taken to a magical website called Patreon, where there's varying tiers to support at. And a huge thank you to everybody who currently does. Take care of your brushes, and they will take care of you.